Supercluster is one of the newest craftable weapons added to Destiny 2 in Season of the Wish. It is a 65 RPM slug shotgun with some interesting perk combinations that could potentially make it a viable option for special weapon DPS, particularly if you don't have a crafted heritage. In order to determine the god roll for this weapon, we should take into account what this will primarily be used for. Since this is a slug shotgun with high precision damage, it would make sense to go with the perks to best increase our damage output. A great option for this is Reconstruction and Vorpal. Vorpal increases our damage to bosses, and Reconstruction passively reloads the weapon up to double the base ammo, increasing your number of shots from 6 to 12. This combination is a reliable option for some DPS, however it is not a very unique perk combination as the exact same perks can be found on other weapons such as Ness's Ablation from the Root of Nightmares raid, which is also craftable. But if you don't have this pattern unlocked, or you're looking for a DPS slug shotgun to use whenever there is increased shotgun or strand damage, then Supercluster with Reconstruction and Vorpal is a great option to craft. When you are doing damage while you have other enemies in close proximity, Surrounded is a far better perk in the 4th column. When within 8 meters of 3 or more enemies, Surrounded will give Supercluster a 40% damage increase. The downside to Surrounded is when you have multiple enemies near you, the flinch can be pretty bad, which could cause you to miss some crit shots. This would not be an issue though if someone on your team is using something like Divinity, but the 40% damage increase while Surrounded is active is much more than the 15% provided by Vorpal. Now, slug shotguns are not at the top of the meta right now in terms of special weapon DPS. Fusion rifles with perks like Control Burst are currently more popular, so why would you use this weapon? Well, slugs are still fine if you don't have many other options. They can be particularly useful for those damage opportunities when you're closer to a boss or a champion. Supercluster is a strand kinetic weapon, meaning if there is a strand surge buff for the activity, the weapon will gain 25% bonus damage. So what about the roll that I crafted? Supercluster comes with a unique roll only craftable on this shotgun. That roll is Reconstruction and Cascade Point. Cascade Point increases the rate of fire when scoring a kill with a different weapon, or by getting multiple precision hits in rapid succession. This perk almost doubles its rate of fire, taking it from 65 RPM to around 111. So by using your other weapons in your loadout, you can proc Cascade Point, at which point you will see Cascade Point ready on the left side of your screen, and you can swap to Supercluster for some quick burst damage. This is especially useful for short DPS windows or for deleting a champion. In order to proc Cascade Point, you only need to defeat one enemy with a different weapon, and you have 5 seconds to swap to your Cascade Point weapon to use it. You can defeat an enemy with your energy weapon and swap to Supercluster for some quick damage. It's very good for deleting champions even on master difficulty, provided you can hit consistent crit shots and are close enough to be effective. It's worth noting that Cascade Point will only last about 5 or 6 shots maximum for this shotgun, so with Reconstruction that means the final 6 shots will be at the normal rate of fire. In order to proc it using precision hits, it works slightly differently for what type of weapon you use. If you use a bow, linear fusion rifles, snipers, or another shotgun, you need 2 precision hits. For hand cannons, sidearms, and scout rifles, you need about 6 precision hits, and for autos, trace, pulse, SMGs, and machine guns, you need about 13. If you're doing quick burst damage on a boss, it's easy to use the linear fusion rifle to get 2 quick hits, then swap to the Cascade Point shotgun for quick damage using special ammo. If you're defeating a champion or a boss with less health, chances are there are enemies nearby that you can quickly defeat, stun the champion, and unload with Cascade Point. As for the barrel and the magazine, using Cascade Point really means that the recoil and stability need to be controlled. So I have a Stability Masterwork, Arrowhead Brake, and Assault Mag. Arrowhead Brake helps the recoil direction, and Assault Mag increases the stability and also slightly increases the rate of fire. If you're going for Surrounded in column 4, or even Vorpal, definitely use a Ranger Masterwork and maybe Accurize rounds for the range increase. So how does it compare to other kinetic slug shotguns? Its main competitor is Heritage from the Deepstone Crypt raid, another craftable shotgun with a similar rate of fire. If you don't have the pattern for this, Supercluster is a fantastic option to craft. Heritage has good perks like Reconstruction and Autoloading in column 3, and Recombination and Focus Fury in column 4. And overall it is still the better option for primary slot slug shotguns. But Supercluster is far more accessible to solo players and is a much easier pattern to obtain. Supercluster is a great weapon to craft, even if it doesn't see much usage until slug shotguns receive some sort of buff or rework in the future. Slugs have very limited opportunity where you find them to be the best DPS right now in the game. I love Supercluster as a weapon to take out champions or some higher end majors. And as for DPS, it's probably better suited for team play where you can optimize slug DPS with debuffs like Divinity, but if you're running solo and you need some special weapon DPS, something to pair with Dragon's Breath for example, I would stick to Scatter Signal or other fusion rifles with Controlled Burst. To unlock the crafting pattern, you need 5 red borders, as with any seasonal weapon. These can drop from engram focusing or from any Season of the Wish activity, and you can increase your chances by getting some of the seasonal challenges complete. If you've crafted a Supercluster, let me know in the comments down below what perks you have on it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, hope you have an awesome start to 2024, and I'll see you next time.